Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Patreon podcast. This week I wanted to talk about the idea that actually just kind of popped into my head yesterday, but has been kind of influencing my life over the past week or so. And that's the idea of polluting your style. And I like the way that I put that. Just because it's, let me explain it first. So I've been listening and watching on YouTube a lot of Mark Ribier. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He does a lot of basically live looping. He plays piano, he lays down drums, he does all of this live. And it's been starting to kind of influence the way that I approach work. And not necessarily in a good way, at least right now. And that's what I mean by polluting your style, where you're basically being influenced by somebody else, and that influence is affecting the way that you produce the art that you make. And at first, and that's kind of the stage that I'm in right now, like I just want to replicate what he's doing because I think it's cool. And I am not Mark, and I'm unable to kind of do the things he does, both from an approach and a skill level and just the equipment that he has. So it's like it's polluting my style in a bad way right now because it is kind of influencing the way that I want to approach things, but I'm not actually able to approach things that way. But I still think that polluting your style is good because I'll be able to take those things eventually. I'll try a bunch of new stuff, just try to see if things work. Maybe I'll try doing more live looping when I do my 2-hour track challenges. Maybe I'll try doing a bunch of other stuff. Some of it will fit, some of it will not. And the stuff that doesn't fit, I'll just discard. And in the end, at the end of, whatever little adventure I'm going on right now, I will be a better producer because of it. But in the meantime, it's kind of polluting the way that I approach and I solve creative problems. And that's, not great. But it's one of those things that has to happen simply because that's how I approach music right now. And that's just what I have to do. And I think that overall it's really important for me to do this. And this happened for a lot of different artists. Another one that happened to me was with Beardy Man, who is another live looper. He does a lot of really, really cool songs using only like beatboxing and a lot of effects and stuff like that. And it's really incredible what people can accomplish with the hardware. And watching Beardy Man inspired me to go purchase a AKAI oscillator, which is a lot of the hardware that he used at the time. And I didn't use it to the full extent that he did, but it was definitely something that I was able to kind of integrate into my workflow for a little bit and have fun with. But that's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit simply because spatial constraints and workflow constraints, I don't use it. I still have it, but I don't use it. And again, having that available to me allowed me to try new things, and sometimes those things didn't work out. Like one of the times that things really didn't work out was when I watched a video from Red Means Recording on the Roly C block, which is kind of like a soft touch piano. It's laid out like a piano, but you can like drag your finger across it to do pitch bends, and you can do all of this very, very unique stuff with it. And I picked it up because it looked amazing, and I could not wrap my head around it. And part of the problem was the software that I was using, Ableton, did not interface very well with the Roly software. So I had this huge gap in my production process because I wanted to use it. I wanted to make use out of this thing because not only was it expensive, but it was like one of those things. It's like, oh, I got a new thing. I want to use it. I want to play with it. And I just couldn't make it work. And I was really, I was really bummed at that because I think that like, it was a beautiful thing. And there was like this synth software that came with it called Equator that just had these just beautiful sounds to it, but I couldn't make it work in the software I was using. So it's like I tried it, it didn't work, and thankfully I was able to sell it to a friend at some point and make some of my money back from the purchase. But I think that the experience of trying it was still worthwhile, and polluting my style with the artists that inspire me is still a really big part of how I approach music production. I really want to celebrate the idea that I get kind of obsessed with certain things, and how that comes out is really kind of just like taking somebody else's approach or sound and trying to replicate it within my own workflow. Another really good example of this is the dark jazz stuff. The oh god, now I can't remember the name of it. It's Der Club of Gore, I think. It's like this dark jazz. They have an album called Black Earth. I'm gonna have to look that up while I talk. But Black Earth is an absolutely phenomenal album. Bohren and Der Club of Gore. And they have an album called Black Earth that is just one of the most gorgeous albums I've heard in a very long time. It's dark jazz, meaning that it's like a very slow tempo. It just feels like these fractures of drums and bass and saxophone and everything just kind of playing, and sometimes they form like this cohesive sound, but sometimes they're just kind of floating off in space, like dissociated from each other. It's just really beautiful. And I've tried to replicate that through a couple of the 2-hour track challenges, and that's where we ended up with a song like Chai Latte was one of them. I think Elephant Foot was kind of one of them. And it's just like having these styles that I immerse myself in, and then I try to take those styles and bring them into my own process. And I absolutely love dark jazz, and now I'm kind of thinking that maybe this 2-hour track challenge, I'll try to do another one, because it's always a lot of fun. And I think that my skills as like an improviser, as a pianist, have improved, and that might make the actual song a little bit more interesting, because a lot of the time it kind of relies on some interesting solos, and I don't know if I had that before. Chai Latte actually had some really good solos and turnarounds and stuff. But yeah, I feel that it's important, and I'm just kind of reiterating this now, but to feel influenced, to be influenced by other people's work. And it's very interesting to watch that happen. It's kind of like learning music theory in a way, where like if you don't know music theory, you just kind of fumble around and do what works and what sounds good, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the biggest fear that most people seem to have when learning music theory is that it will pollute, or it will delude their work, where suddenly they're going to be like stuck within this rigorous form of rules that they can't really break out of. And to be honest, when you start learning music theory, that's exactly what happens, because you start learning these rules and you feel, well, these are the rules that I have to take, that I have to adhere to. And all of a sudden, the music that you make starts sounding a little bit more bland, because those rules really aren't very interesting. The rules are there to ensure that no matter what you do, it sounds okay. It sounds pleasant, but not necessarily interesting. But once you dig deeper into music theory, once you start to better understand what those rules are, you start to learn that those rules are designed to be guidance, not like hard and fast rules, suggestions. So once you start realizing that, where you can take the normal chord progression that you're so used to and what the music theory suggests that you do, and then you can find ways to twist that. You can find ways to make that different and interesting. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about polluting your style, where you take the set of rules that somebody else's style adheres to and you try to apply them to your own style. And initially, it's going to be real bad, at least most of the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's how you learn. That's how you grow. Because what you're doing is you're putting all of these rules and all of this other stuff into a big sieve, and you're sifting it all out. And you're just trying to find the things that work and the things that don't work. And some things you're just going to have to discard. Maybe it'll be the rules of the style that you're like being influenced by. Maybe it's some of your own rules and they're going to be replaced by something else. And both of those are okay. So yeah, I think that's kind of really the main thing. I've been working on putting together a small ebook. Who knows when it'll come out? Probably 2021. But I've been working on putting together this ebook, and it's been a really fun process so far. I've written down so many cool ideas. And the ebook is about how to write a song in 2 hours. And really what it's kind of coming toward is just a book full of like inspirational things like this. And I just need to finish the How to Write a Song in 2 Hours, which will be much, much smaller. And then I want to get toward the Be Remarkable book, which is kind of the book that I've been writing for the past 5 or 6 years with the Creative Exploration series, and then with these podcasts and with all the talks that I do and all that other stuff. So there's a lot of neat things coming your way soon, hopefully. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. That really, really means a lot to me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you next time. Be remarkable.